Life can change in an instant. For many wheelchair users, the struggle to push forward is a daily challenge.
After years of development and countless prototypes, we created Rib Grips, the revolutionary wheelchair hand rim covers with built-in ribs for ultimate grip and comfort.
No more slick surfaces, no more heat burns, just pure, reliable grip. Rib Grips, empowering you to push forward with ease. Rib Grips. Get a grip on your freedom. Discover the difference. Visit ribgrips.com and use promo code GRIP today. You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit GearHandle.com and use promo code H2O today.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast. This is Central Texas Life with Ann Harder.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Central Texas Life. And today we're going to talk about a very serious and important topic, and it has to do with hunger. So I have three individuals here in the podcast studio to talk about this matter, and they all have great expertise. And we're going to start off with Pastor Robert Andrade, who is with the Family Faith Worship Center in Beverly Hills, food pantry there. Robert Gager, who is Shepherd's Heart Food Pantry. And Ann Owens with the wonderful Caritas. So we talked earlier, and Caritas has been around probably the longest.
Yes, since 1967.
And so you've got a lot of history with helping folks with their food needs. Robert, I've seen your ministry really kind of change and morph and go more mobile and taking the food to the people as opposed to having the stationary building to provide foods.
And we found that out. COVID taught us that.
Right.
When COVID came along and we had to do our business some other way because people couldn't come into our pantry, we thought, once COVID, they released us, we thought, what if we went mobile with this? And the thing that stuck in my mind was several years ago, the Baylor School of Social Work did a survey on the community and found that we had 50,000 people living in food desert areas. So I just went back to that and said, we're going there.
Right.
And so that changed everything, because what we found was that when we started doing that, our new client rate was running 40 to 50% for the first several months, because there were people living in those areas that couldn't get to our pantry.
But needed it.
Yes.
But needed
it.
it.
Needed help.
Pastor, so you are there in a specific area. So tell me a little bit about your food pantry.
So we are located in the Beverly Hills area, as you stated. To many Wacoans, it's known as the South Waco area. And we predominantly see Hispanics, or those Spanish-speaking. But people come from all over Waco, and even rural communities. They will come in from Marlin, from Chilton, from Hillsborough, all of those areas. We even see people come from that.
And how long have you been in existence?
So in 2005, we got a call from Caritas that they had some bread, and we would be interested in perhaps distributing it at our church. And so who would have ever thought that 19 years later, we would have a full-blown pantry at our church. And so that's how we started. You know, we're going on 19 years of providing groceries to the community with great partners such as Caritas and Shepherd's Heart.
Well, and of course, you've been there at Caritas for 10 years.
Yes.
Now, so you've seen a lot. I think the first thing we really want to talk about is how great the need is now and how that has changed.
Yes, and especially this year and last year with inflation the way it was, it's really hit families hard. And it continues to hit families hard. We're seeing more community neighbors come in that need assistance. One of the things we've seen increase are the number of new families that are coming in needing assistance that have never visited Caritas in the past. And so just like I said, the need just continues to grow. And one thing I wanted to point out was the three of us are very collaborative because we all serve different purposes. We're more of, like you said, a stationary pantry. We're there Monday through Friday. Bob goes out, has the mobile pantries and goes out to the communities that maybe are not able to get to Caritas or to Family of Faith. And then Pastor Rubin's church serves those mostly after hours. And so we're there at different times to help the community and so whenever they may need the assistance, we're hoping that one of the three of us are able to help them.
Well, Bob, you've got really hard numbers, and they're difficult numbers to hear, really, because when you first contacted me about setting this up, you said that you've seen, just through Shepherd's Heart, something like 60,000 people in the first 6 months of the year, and normally you do for the whole year 90.
Yeah.
Which is still stunning numbers, but that tells you how much further ahead you are.
And so far for the year, we're at, I think, 65,000 families. Families, not people. And what we're seeing with our mobile distributions is a 15% increase month after month after month. Now, if we were in a for-profit business, that would be a great thing.
That would be amazing.
That would be, very profitable and all that. But we're not in a profit business. But it's just a whole lot more people that are coming for assistance. And I mean, it's amazing how many more people we are seeing. Let me just mention something to you, that a report that I got earlier this year from the United Way. It's called the ALICE report. ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed. We know what our numbers are in the community. We've got about 37,000 some people that are at or below the poverty line here in Waco area, in the greater Waco area. The ALICE report is another 29% of people, mainly middle income working people, that are on top of that. That's another 47,560 people. We've got almost 85,000 people that we're trying to assist, because it's not just the low income people, it's the middle income people that are getting squeezed. And these are families that have both husband and wife working. They have 2 car payments, they have house payment, children are expensive with the price of fuel and food. It's just, we can't do everything. That's what their situation is. And so they're looking for help from us.
And I know
all
now,
3 of us.
Credit card debt is just skyrocketing because people are using their credit cards just to pay for food.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, and people are using credit cards to pay utility bills, and I mean just things that are just unimaginable. And so we see families that they're struggling just to pay for the basic needs. And so if you're struggling to pay for like your rent or your mortgage and insurance and car payments and anything like that, you don't have any money left to put food on your table. And so that's why we need this community to really shore up the pantries that are here and help those in our community neighbors that are so much in need.
Now, Pastor, in your circle of the world, your corner of the world, what are you finding as far as people being able to help you and partner with you in the effort of providing foods for folks?
So, as Bob and Ann just stated, the overwhelming number of people that we're seeing are the middle class, okay? And I reiterate that because what I have done, to answer your question, and is partner with other churches in the community, because I have tried to help other pastors and congregations understand that these are people that worship inside our buildings every Sunday morning, okay? These are people who, as they alluded to, who are middle class, working. They're not unemployed. They're not homeless. And so it's very important to engage the faith community, because a lot of times, as Ann mentioned earlier, people are stigmatized by going to a social service agency. What are you doing there? Did you see who I saw there? And so on and so forth, okay? And then on the flip side of that, even if they were to go, they can't because of work. They're working. So that's where we've partnered with other churches, and they have been very resourceful and hosting mobile food distributions at their church parking lots and getting volunteers to be able to meet after hours, after 5 o'clock, as late as 7:30, sometimes 8 in the evening, to those working families who are coming. So they've been very instrumental in being able to fill that time.
Well, which means you have to have volunteers. You have to have folks that are partnering with you just to get the work done. Right?
Definitely, because it is work. It's just not about handing out groceries, but it's about loading vehicles or loading the box truck and moving pallets and then driving them to their destination and having to unload them there and set up. And then, you've got to sign people in. And it is really an undertaking. And so we've asked pastors to be able to have at least anywhere between 20 to 25 volunteers. I'm proud to say, or happy to say, that they have surpassed that amount. We've gotten 30 to 40 volunteers.
That's great. Yeah.
And so after the distribution, many of the congregants are saying, this is what the church is really about, helping your neighbor. And where we had planned to have one mobile food distribution has now turned into an every month distribution. So yes, the resources in regards to the manpower and the facilities have been there, but it's just the need is just so great that one or two churches can't do it after hours, just like these guys do it during the day, and then the financial resources that are needed to be able to help these families. It's just, I've always said that people are not going to think about going and applying for a job. Our children are going to not do well in school if they have an empty stomach.
Right.
And so if we can, as a church, meet that basic need, but as a community as a whole, it's going to take, what we're seeing right now with inflation and the cost, just what Ann and Bob had alluded to. It's the working class. It's people who we can't even imagine or wouldn't imagine, I will say this, and with all respect, that I have seen here in the past several months, individuals from other social service agencies come to our mobile food distributions. These are people who sit on the other side of the desk to service those in need, and they themselves are now having to come to receive food. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bob, another thing that I had noticed that you all had put on Facebook was a post about, now school is back in session, which is great because that means for a lot of children who may, they've got at least guaranteed a meal, but the way they allocate it there, it's little child-sized portions and not meeting the needs of the teenagers who I can assure you eat a lot more.
That's true.
I never even was aware of that as being an issue and a problem.
Well, it always has been, but we have pantries in several schools, and I visit with those social workers that run those programs in the schools, and this is information they're telling me. And what I've learned of that is that it's not the school's policy, it's the way that federal program works. If they want that federal program in their school, they have to follow all those rules. And it makes no sense to me to establish the meal size around elementary children, what they would eat, all the way up to high school. I'm thinking when I was in high school and a football player, I ate everything I could get my hands on.
I know you did.
And so, and the rules make it difficult for the kids because in high school they can't go back for seconds. So the school teachers and social workers, they have to find ways to get them more food. In addition to that, they're throwing a lot of that food away at the end of the day. It's like, wait a minute, we need to do something with that. If they can't do something to adjust the meal size, or if they need seconds, otherwise they'd have to pay for it, the seconds.
Right, and they can't pay for it to begin with.
And 90% of the students that we have in Waco ISD are at or below the poverty line. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to be able to pay for that second portion. But something needs to be done with that. And I think that's where our government needs to wake up and do something about this. I don't know how to change that. I'm not a politician or anything like that, but that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, how could that even get started? I mean, who do you go to say we've got to not be throwing this food away if we've got to a 16-year-old high school junior that could eat 3 portions,
Easily, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the basketball players, all the athletic kids, they'll go 4 or 5 plates. Yeah.
Yeah. Just one aspect that was kind of a surprise to me to even know that was an issue. And of course, you mentioned getting community leaders more involved. Can we talk a little bit more about that? Who is it you're hoping? It's not that the city leaders don't know it's a problem. They're just not doing anything about it.
Well, in some cases, that may be correct, but I think they don't know that it's a problem. I don't think they understand all of the things that we see on a daily basis. Ann and Pastor Ruben, what we go through on a daily basis is not anything that's familiar to the people that are running the city or running the county. They don't know that. And so somehow we need to bring this up to them and say, we need some help to get something solved. The thing that rings in my craw is the very first thing we've got to do is feed them. Because if they don't have good, nutritious food, what you have is you're going to have a sick society. The children are going to lose they won't have the right cognitive skills. I mean, you can see some of the people that have lived in generational poverty, how that's manifested in them. But our community leaders need to see that we need to step in somehow and do something about this. I'm not sure how to do that. It's not like I feel like we should, get our banners and signs out and be marching down the street. I don't go that route at all. But we need to get in front of our elected leaders and say, we need your help. We're doing what we can, but we need a little bit more help in this.
And earlier when we were talking, before we started recording, you were saying area communities need to get more involved, have more skin in the game, I guess, if it were. And as you say, Pastor, the churches is the likely is the likely suspect, because we're commanded as Christians, to do this kind of work. But there are other communities that could also maybe marshal together.
Absolutely. And the thing of it is there's a lot of different nonprofits out there, and everybody's competing for the dollars and the attention and things like that. But if we don't feed them, if we don't get them fed, we lose the health of the community. So it needs to start here and then bring all that other services into it as well. And I'm not trying to prioritize what we do monetarily or anything like that. It's we need to feed this community. If we're going to keep this community healthy and growing, and it is growing, I mean, with all the people that are coming into this community, I can tell you with our mobile distributions, I see a lot of out-of-state plates in that line.
Really?
People that are coming here hoping to find a job, don't find a job, and now they got to go look again someplace else or whatever. But we've got a lot of people moving into the community that need assistance when they get here.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about the framework of food pantries and so forth, and the Food Bank of Central Texas, right? That's based in Austin. How does that figure into what you all are doing? Is it a separate entity or?
Yes, well, the Central Texas Food Bank provides us with a lot of the food that we receive.
Okay.
And so we are all member agencies of the Central Texas Food Bank. And so then Central Texas Food Bank is also affiliated with Feeding America, because you mentioned that earlier.
Right. They had the Map the Meal Gap report. And
yes.
Yeah.
And so recently the Central Texas Food Bank came out with a wonderful report that they actually came to Waco and met with some focus groups, and I think Bob has a copy of that here, to get some information about the needs that are here and how great the need is and where those needs are. And so they're a wonderful partner of ours. The three of us, I can definitely say that the three of us could not do what we do without the Central Texas Food Bank.
So if people want to help and want to donate, do they just donate direct to the Central Texas Food Bank, or do they go to your ministry or
to us individually?
Our individual ministries, yes.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it can go to the Central Texas Food Bank, but that's not necessarily helping directly here in Waco. Kind of on the fringe it is, because they couldn't do everything they do without support.
Oh, yeah.
But each one of our pantries needs support from our community, like Pastor Reuben said, from our religious community, from our business community, from individuals. Most of our support at Caritas comes from individuals, the monetary support, and we have different entities that do food drives for all of us, and so we literally could not exist without the support of this community.
Now, my mother back in 1967 started supporting Caritas, so it's something that we've always been aware of. I handed that report back to you, Robert, because I want you to give some of the highlights. What do you think? That's multi-pages.
There's a lot of information here
about the need that is here in the greater Waco area.
The one thing that this report really speaks is in percentages of things. And so what I look at is, well, what are those numbers? And then when we compare some of these numbers, let me get to another page, Ann, because I've got some of the stuff marked on here.
And I would bet some of that is found online as well. Feeding America, yeah.
Yeah. Compared to Texas, we're higher in some categories. Our obesity rate here is higher. We're 39.2%, have a 39.2% obesity rate. What that means is that's 64,288 people that are in that range. We have a diabetes rate that's 12.2%. That's kind of in the middle. That's over 20,000 people with diabetes. And heart disease, 5.7. Again, we're back in the middle zone there. That's over 9,000, 9398. And this report goes on and on and on. It talks about things like that. But what I have learned in the 15 years I've been doing this kind of work is that if we can feed them right, we don't run into these kind of things.
Right. They're eating the wrong things.
They're eating junk food.
Easy
and that's
things
why
to get. And
when we first started, and when we had several lines all around our pantry, I just thought, well, I got these people in line for a while. Let's just survey some things. And I started putting a list of questions together. I found out that we had 66% of the people in line were diabetic. And what jumped into my head was the report that the Baylor School of Social Work did on the food deserts, because they're eating junk food. They're eating that stuff that isn't healthy for them, all that prepared food that's not healthy for them. And so we've got too many people eating junk food, not eating fresh, healthy food like we supply at all of our pantries.
Right, and I think one of those reasons is because of the food deserts, what you have are convenience stores.
right.
And so
They're not
that's where
selling, fresh produce.
No, they're not.
to speak
And
of.
so it's number one, it's easier. Junk food, for the most part, is cheaper than going to the grocery store and buying fresh fruit and vegetables, things that are healthier. And the other part is education. We all need to do a better job of education. We try to at our pantry when we have sometimes we'll have nutritionists from Baylor that will come in, and they'll take things from our pantry and do a cooking presentation.
Oh, that's good.
And we try to, whenever we can, provide menus that have nutrition information on it. So I think that's another part of it is just education, because you may not know. I bet if you walk downstairs and talk to a lot of people, they don't know how many carbs are in bread and how those carbs can lead, if you're eating bread too much. Then
Sandwiches
that
are easy and cheap. Though.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
exactly right.
And so that's going to lead to diabetes, chips, things like that. And so, again, a great part of that is just education.
Yeah, and Pastor Reuben, it's not just food, though. I mean, folks have to have laundry detergent and paper towels and things like that. So more than just the food, it's all of the things that cost so much money at the market.
Yes, individuals do not only come for food, as you just stated. They are looking for diapers for their children.
Oh, yeah.
They're looking for adult diapers for their parents. The hygiene products, the laundry detergent, as you stated, because all of this, again, has increased with inflation. And so we'll have people come in, and after they're leaving with their groceries, they'll stop by and say, Pastor, do you have any diapers? Do you have any laundry detergent? And so on and so forth. And as Bob mentioned, that goes even into the schools. We have coaches and counselors who call us and say, do you have feminine hygiene products for these high school girls? Pastor, thank you for the soap that you donated, because, it's just, it's a totally different self-esteem for this youngster after they take a shower and they smell good. It just changes the dynamics of their day. And so, yes, in addition to food, there are the other personal hygiene products, feminine hygiene products, that are being requested every week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's, I guess, though, the stunning thing, though, is the inflation and how that has impacted. It says the national average cost per meal rises to $3.99 in 2022. What is it now? I mean, it's got to be way worse than that.
What I will say is that I know that our objective here was to get the word out in our community, is that it's obviously substantially higher, but it's not the face of hunger now. Is not the people who, with all respect, are on the street corner with a sign.
Right.
That is not the face of hunger alone. It's not the individuals who are at the unemployment office. Okay. It's the individuals that work for the city of Waco, that work in this building here, okay, that drive very nice vehicles, okay, but they have come upon hard times. Yeah. And if our community would understand and realize that their next door neighbor, I remember the times where we could go to the next door neighbor and say, do you have a can of tomato sauce?
Yeah, or a cup of sugar.
A cup of sugar, anything,
right.
And because of the pride, self-esteem, or because of the lack of knowing that they're in the same situation that we are in, And so the face has just totally changed. I tell my volunteers, when you see someone drive up in a Mercedes or BMW or Lexus, we will not criticize. We will not judge. That's not what we're here for. We don't know the story.
Right.
Perhaps they've lost their job. Perhaps that car will be repossessed in a couple of weeks. We don't know. But the face of hunger in Waco has changed. And I would hope that those listening today would understand that it's their aunt, their uncle, their grandma, the people they worship with, okay, their next door neighbor. It's just something that I've even had to tell my congregation, how can we feed the community if we're not taking care of the people who worship here? So step out of your pride, okay, and if you are in need, all you have to do is say, Pastor, I'm in need, and we will bless you with groceries. So we've kind of switched it a little bit where we say, come receive your blessing, Ann. Everybody wants a blessing, right? Yeah. And so we've kind of used that tagline to say, come receive your blessing.
We want to bless you in this way.
Exactly. And I think the other face to hunger in our society and our community here in Waco is college students. Yeah. Some may not know that maybe 8 years ago, I approached Baylor University to do the Baylor Free Farmers Market. People pushed that back. They pushed that idea back. You're at the wrong place. These Baylor kids don't need it, and so on and so forth. Well, 9 years later, 8-9 years later, they have this still once every semester. They have a food pantry now on campus, okay? And I remember the first time when we had that, many students said, I can't remember when's the last time I was able to afford fresh produce, as Ann mentioned, okay? Because all they could afford or all that was available was the junk food,
right?
Okay? And I'll say this last thing is that this hit home to me because I had 2 heart attacks and a stroke, and it was all attributed to not eating right, not eating healthy, and eating just fast food on the go. Yeah. And so I thought, okay, now I can't just distribute food. I've got to educate these people. Yeah. I've got to let them know how to eat healthy. We've got to have cooking classes and so on and so forth. So there's a holistic approach here that we're all talking about that's essential.
It is so great to learn this, what all is happening.
Let me just piggyback on something that Pastor Rubin mentioned. I'm going to talk first about the college students. There's a national statistic that 30% of our college students, they have one meal a day while they're trying to get an education.
Right.
That includes Baylor. We do a mobile distribution once a month at Baylor. And it's incredible to me because the group that we feed the most is the international students.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense to me that these young people come in, and some of them are grad students that are staying at the school to get higher up, but they have a visa to get here, but they can't get a job. They can't get a job.
Right.
How are they supposed to eat? And so when we have a distribution, most of the students that we're serving are these international students. And so it just kind of breaks my heart to see that kind of stuff.
That is surprising to me. I mean, but if they're not, living in a dorm and have the meal ticket, there's lots of food in the dorms. I know.
Yeah. The needs throughout our community, if you look around, are just really, they're surprising. You mentioned the high school kids needing assistance. We have a whole lot of homeless high school students.
Yes.
Some of them have babies. And we provide the products that they need from our resale store, Things from the Heart. We give them whatever they need. And whether it's clothing, diapers, or whatever, okay, we give them whatever we can. Plus, we're feeding them. I mean, we've got a complicated mess that we're in. We didn't create it. We're trying to solve it, but we just need some help.
Yeah. So how can folks help? How can we help?
They can, of course, we can buy more food with a monetary donation than if they were to go to the grocery store and bring a bunch of canned goods. But not to say that we don't appreciate those, because we certainly do. Like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of businesses that do food drives for us, and we certainly appreciate those. We always need canned goods. We need, for our unhomed neighbors that come in, we need lots of pop-top type foods, and non-perishable foods, of course, granola bars, things like that. Pastor Reuben was talking about hygiene products, especially our unhomed neighbors need hygiene products because they're not getting those anywhere else. But then again, I go back to the monetary donations, and I know people kind of cringe when you mention money, but again, we can purchase a lot of food from the Central Texas Food Bank and from other resources, a lot more with $10 than you can, especially right now, spend at the grocery store. I went to a presentation. It was actually a United Way presentation that someone did, and they said they had like 3 stacks of cans and said, pick the one that you think would cost $10. And most of the people picked the one that was in the middle. That was kind of the middle pyramid. But really, it was the smallest one. Yeah. And so when you think about that, it's just mind-blowing. And I wanted to mention, too, you all were talking about students. And one of the things that tears at my heart so much when I work through our pantry is when we see our retired citizens, our retired community neighbors there, and they have a lot of pride. And lots of times they won't make eye contact with me because they're so embarrassed that they're there. And many times they'll apologize, which just really tears at my heart even more, because here are people who have worked hard all of their lives. They're on Social Security. Some of them are drawing retirement, and they just can't make it. And yet they're apologizing for coming to get the food that they need.
But you know why, Ann? You know why? And I just shared this a couple of days ago. I had to tell someone who I knew was in need. They came up to me, and they said, it's just I don't want to take away from those who need it more.
Right.
Okay?
Oh, my goodness.
And so the problem is they're in need as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Oh, wow.
You know, and so it's just, again, having that understanding is that anybody watching here today that says, well, I'm in need. They're talking about me, but I don't want to take away from someone who has greater need. No, we want anybody who is in need to come. And I would just add to what Ann said. We can buy more with monetary donations. We can buy more food, but we have to let the people understand that there's trucks, their equipment that is needed to be able to facilitate these mobile food distributions and picking up donations. And so, so there's money for gas, there's money for upkeep on forklifts and box trucks and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So if people just understood that as well, instead of saying, well, I'll just go buy some canned goods, which we're grateful for, but the monetary donations can go and be stretched so much further than, in addition to buying food, in addition to maintaining all the equipment as well.
I'm going to piggyback on something both of you said. One having to do with the seniors. I see that too, Ed. I see it. And one of the things that I'm out doing the mobiles, I get out there because I'm doing things to break that stigma. I want people to feel comfortable. I'll act crazy out there if I have to, just to get their attention, because I can sense that uneasiness. So I'll do something to make them smile, but I want to break through that sort of thing. We've got, in addition to that, we've got 1,000 people that we deliver groceries to, not Meals on Wheels, but groceries on wheels, twice a month. That's a huge task force of volunteers. And another thing that we're seeing a lot of, and I'm pretty sure we all see this, multiple generations living in a house because they can't afford to buy a house.
Exactly.
Sure.
So now you got the grandparents, the parents, and the children all living at one address because they can't go anywhere. They're stuck.
Yeah. So how can folks reach you all?
One more thing I want to say.
Go ahead.
At this part of the year, all three of us go through this. I call it our donation drought. The summer months are the hardest because people go on vacation, and in particular this year, school starting, they're spending a lot of money getting their kids back in
they
school,
are.
but this is where the money is the lowest for us.
Okay.
This is where we struggle.
Okay. So Shepherd's Heart Food Pantry. They can find you where?
Oh, shepherdsheartpantry.com or shepherdsheartpantry.org.
All right. And Ann with Caritas.
Caritas-waco.org.
All right.
And we are on social media. People ask me all the time. It's Family of Faith WC Waco on Facebook.
Excellent. Well, you all are doing such great work in the community, and it's really a privilege for me to be able to kind of shine a light on this need. It is so great, and there's so many areas of it that I hadn't even thought about and was unaware of. So thank you all for your time, Pastor Ruben Andrade and Bob Gager and Ann Owen. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
And
Yes.
it's an honor for us
Yes.
to be able to serve the community,
It is.
us and all of our staff. It's a calling for all of us. And so it's, again, we're privileged, and it's an honor for us to
Well,
be able to help the community.
You are meeting the need in such a great way, and thank you all for your service. And thank you all for being with us for Central Texas Life. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Central Texas Life with Ann Harder is part of the Rogue Media family. Be sure to check out our other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate this show 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Life with Ann Harder. This has been a Rogue Media Network production. Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support in a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.